Hey guys, how's everyone doing? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the best weapon loadouts on Apex Legends. I'm going to give you 5 weapon loadouts, so number 5 being my least preferred one to number 1 being my most preferred one. So without any more talking, let's get straight into number 5, which is the Hemlock and the Peacekeeper. So one burst of the Hemlock does around 66 damage, a shot below the waist is around 17, a shot in the torso is 22, and a shot in the head is 44. One of them is medium to long range, and the other one is close range, so you know, it's basically the perfect combination. So the Hemlock has had its fair share of nerfs and buffs, but now I think it's at a good place. The burst can do a lot of damage to the head and a lot of damage to the body, and the good thing about the burst is if you hip fire, it's going to kick up to the head, so you're going to be getting a lot of headshots compared to most other guns they use. And the single fire, although it's not as fast as it used to be, like remember in season 1, if you played season 1 of Apex, that thing could fire as fast as you could press the trigger. It was amazing. I remember when I used to main Bangalore back then, I used to only use the 3 times on the Hemlock single fire, but if I could run double Hemlock single fire, I would do that. It's a great weapon to use back then. Still a great weapon now, and because they've increased the damage, it doesn't need to fire as fast, but it still does fire pretty fast. It's still pretty good, and I definitely recommend it. Now it pairs up with the Peacekeeper pretty nicely because of the Peacekeeper. It's a very close range weapon. You know, if you had to choke to it, it's kind of close to close medium range, so if people start pushing you, you are going to be able to hold them off, and if they get too close, you can pull out the Peacekeeper and absolutely clap them with it. So yeah, that's number 5, the Hemlock Peacekeeper. A great combination of weapons. However, not my favorite. I see someone who really likes those long range engagements using this loadout, and you know, they don't really use the Peacekeeper too much. I feel like the Peacekeeper is just there as a safety, so if people do get too close, you can just whip that thing out and help the team at close range. So yeah, moving on to number 4, this is the Flatline and the Peacekeeper. I'm going to try not to mention the same weapons twice in this video, but nevertheless, the weapons that I am showing you are really good. They're in the meta. They are great weapons that you should be using right now. And yeah, so this is the Flatline and the Peacekeeper. The good thing about the Flatline, it can be used close, medium, and long range because of those anvil receivers. I'm not even going to tell you what damage the Peacekeeper does because sometimes it does 8 and sometimes it does 120, so it's just impossible for me to judge what damage it's going to do. So the Flatline in auto mode does 14 below the waist, 19 to the chest, and then 38 to the head. Now if you put it in single fire and have anvil receivers, it does 39 damage below the waist, 43 damage to the chest, and 86 damage to the head, making the Flatline a 3-shot kill to the head. So yeah, the Flatline Peacekeeper is something that you want to be a little bit more aggressive with. The Flatline is amazing at close range. The hip fire on it is really good for an assault rifle. Usually the only guns that are really good with hip fire are the SMGs, but the Flatline is an absolute beast of a weapon when it comes to hip firing. If I ever pick up a Flatline, I like to pick it up with a 2 times or a 1 times. It doesn't really matter, but the 2 times, you know, if you have anvil receivers and you're playing ranked especially, anvil receivers do help there because you can keep players at a distance. You can keep doing damage at a distance too, which is pretty good. So yeah, Flatline Peacekeeper at number 4. Number 3, oh, this is a scary one. We have the G7 and the R99. The G7 doesn't really need an introduction. This person can introduce it for you. So for the G7 Scout, below the waist it does 31 damage, in the torso it does 34, and in the head it does 68. And then if you turn double tap on and hit both your shots, it's going to do 68 damage. So yeah, the R99, it does 9 below the waist, 11 to the torso, and 17 to the head. So you know, you don't have to use the R99, you can use the G7 and the Prowler, or the G7 and the PK, as long as you have a close range weapon as well as the G7. It's a gun that I hate getting killed by, but it's also a very satisfying gun to use. So with a G7 with a 3 times is probably the most dirty thing to use on Apex Legends, but you know. And yeah, so you have that G7 for the long range, even close range sometimes, although the hip fire is very unreliable. If you do somehow manage to hit your shots at close range with a hip fire, most of them are probably going to go to the head, and you know, if you don't know, the G7 is a pretty much 3 tap to the head. So yeah, the G7 is a very OP weapon, and I bet a lot of you guys already use that thing because it's a scary weapon to get shot by. Yeah, so although the G7s have a bad reputation, just like scooter riders do in London, you know, apparently they're all thieves, it is a very good weapon. So yeah, if you do want to be dominating at medium to long range, you're going to be wanting to pick up that G7 with a 3 times, even a 2 to 4, even a 2 times, to be honest. It's just an amazing weapon that you should definitely take advantage of, but not in my lobbies, please. Just don't even look at it in my lobby. So yeah, that's number 3, the G7 and the R9, or any type of close range weapon you like. So at number 2, we have the Prowler and the R301. So the R301 does 11 below the waist, 14 to the torso, and 28 to the head. And then when you put it into single fire and have anvils, it does 32 below the waist, 35 to the torso, and 70 to the head. And the Prowler in one burst does 75 damage. And if you have the select fire and you put it on auto, 1 shot below the waist does 12, 1 shot in the torso does 15, and a shot in the head does 23. So the Prowler is obviously going to be your close range weapon, and your R301 is going to be also your close range weapon, but it's a weapon that can also go to medium range because, again, of those anvil receivers. I prefer the anvil receivers on the Flatline, but on the R301 it's still a great attachment. Personally, I prefer the Prowler without the select fire. Like, it just feels really good, and especially if you know how to hit your shots with that thing, it's going to do so much damage. I think even more damage than the Prowler with Select Fire. So yeah, the Prowler and R301 loadout is a very aggressive one. It can also be a very passive one too. You can use the Prowler as your defense weapon at close range, and the R301 as your, stay away from me, I have anvil receivers on my R301, don't come near me type weapon, you feel me? So yeah, the Prowler R301 comes in at number 2, and I think it's a very strong loadout that you should be definitely using more regularly. Now, at number 1, you guys probably know what this is if you watch my videos, and this is the R99 and the R99. This is the ultimate aggressive loadout. This is if you want to be running through lobbies, if you want to be doing high damage games, high kill games, this is what you want to be using. Now the thing is with R99, it's a high skill weapon. There are many things you can do with R99 to give you the advantage in a fight. The hip fire is the most accurate in the game. It has the fastest fire rate, but also one of the lowest damages of the SMGs. So yeah, the thing about the R99, it did recently get nerfed. It got a damage reduction of 1. It doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm pretty sure they did that a couple seasons ago too. Like in season 2 they reduced the damage again, so it's basically reduced by 2, and then they decreased the mag size, but then in this season they increased it again, so instead of I think 17 shots you had or 18 shots, you have 20 shots, which is kind of good. So yeah, the R99 and R99 combo is a very aggressive loadout. Again, it can be used defensively. If you're a caustic, it's a very good combo. If you're a Jibby, it's a very good combo. It doesn't matter what character you play, the double R99s are awesome. And if you say, oh, the R99 doesn't have any range, well guys, you can absolutely beam people from a distance with the 2 times on it. Like, it doesn't even really need a sight. Like, the iron sights on the R9 are actually my favorite in the game. So yeah, guys, they were my top 5 Apex loadouts. These are the loadouts I prefer and I think will actually help you, because all these guns right now are in the meta. They are great weapons to use. They are all amazing weapons. And yeah, so considering I only gave you 5 here, I can give you many more. Just let me know if you like this video, if you found this video helpful at all. This video is made for the people who are kind of finding it difficult to find their loadout. So yeah, if you want to see more loadout videos like this, let me know. I have many more loadouts that you guys may not even be thinking of, but these are just the main ones, just to get you guys warmed up with more videos to come. So yeah guys, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like and turn on those notifications so you next know when I upload a video.